Hey, it's Aaron, the metal theologian. All right, so we got a lot to talk about today. Actually, we got soda, and I was gonna go through a little bit of something like just like what I clean my records with and shit for a friend of mine specifically, and I'm gonna talk about some records I hate. So yeah, let's get the soda cracked open. It's a little bit of a surprise actually. My wife picked this up for me. She was out. So this is Trader Joe's rhubarb and strawberry soda. And I don't think I've ever had this before. I've had like some kind of like rhubarb soda before, but I mean, I think I remember the small can because that's like it's a little bit of a red flag, honestly, man. It's like if I'm only going to have 8.4 ounces, I'm probably not really very thirsty, you know. Then again, it's soda, you know. So yeah, it's Trader Joe's, so it's all pure and natural, man. Carbonated water, rhubarb juice, strawberry juice, cane sugar, natural flavor, and citric acid. I was wondering about natural flavor. I mean, that's like the parasites that were like living in the fucking fruit. You know how you hear about like how like you eat like 100 spiders in your life or something that crawl into your mouth when you're sleeping? Yeah, supposedly that's a myth. So I'm saying that to counterbalance like the mental image that I just put in your head about the natural flavor and how fucking ominous you can make that if you're inclined to do that, if you're just a dick. Anyway, let's see how this is. It's very mineral watery, which I was kind of expecting from this kind of soda. You know how something really sort of tastes like, I mean, I don't even know if it is. This might just be the same old shit, but it has like sort of a mineral watery, taste and kind of mouthfeel too. Like the way the carbonation feels, but it's mostly the taste. It's pretty sweet though for like an eco soda. So God bless America, I guess, right? The strawberries, well, I don't know, man. The rhubarb too. It's really fruity. You know something? I gotta give this credit. I mean, I definitely like a lot of punch in my soda. It's not very often you're gonna hear me say that one's too sweet for me. Okay, so let me just own that up front. That said, I feel like this could be a little bit sweeter, but it's definitely got like a real sort of legit fruit flavor. You know what I mean? It's not like the artificial banana, which I also love, but like or like an artificial like from a Welch's strawberry soda or something. This really tastes pretty strawberry-y. All right. So in case anyone's wondering, if you can hear it, we're listening to Novely Zaviet. I'm still listening to Russian shit. I actually had a little trouble like trying to figure out what to talk about in this video because I've been listening to these same Russian records I've already hyped so much. That's such an awesome cover, that Four Horsemen thing going on. And I just love these guys, like this sort of dirgy, doomy sort of thing. It's fucking fantastic, man. All right, so I kind of hate talking about like gear type stuff, which just because I just feel like a chode doing that. You know what I mean? But like a friend of mine asked me about this, so like do him a solid, and for anyone else who wants to know, the brush that I use for my records is just this dishwasher like D4 thing, and like I got this when I was like a senior in high school or something like that, maybe a junior even. I've had it that long. In fact, somehow a friend of mine ended up with this. I like loaned it to him and I had an extra one and I gave it to him or something like that. I ended up trading him back for my newer one because I kind of wanted the old one. This one has a darker thing, so you can see the pad's darker, so you can see like the dust showing up on there. But basically, yeah, my record cleaning ritual. Let me see if I can fucking turn this over this way a little bit. Yeah, let me just show it real quick. I'll put on a different record or something maybe. No, I probably shouldn't because I'm really digging this one. But I'll flip this one over, okay? So, hold it by the edges, right? But all that shit. But, just sort of put it on here. And I don't know. It's probably, not based on anything, but I don't like pressing against the motor, so I always like hand spin it and just sort of give it a brush like that. Maybe a little bit more, a little bit less. I get lazy about it in videos sometimes. That's it. Then give the brush a little thing, and that's all I do, man. So, like, if a record is really filthy, I'll fold up a... I'll show that if you need to see it. I'll do that next time. I don't feel like talking about it anymore. I mean, that shit's important, you know what I mean? I tend to sort of poo-poo it, and the fact is, it really does make a difference if you take care of your records. But it's just not what I like to fixate on, because, you know something, man? I just remember there were so many records. Not so many. There were a couple records, and then I learned my lesson. But, like, relatively early on, man, it was like, oh, I'll hold out for a better copy of this. I probably told this story before, but I think, if I remember correctly, I did that with Blue Cheer, actually, with the first Blue Cheer. And this is long enough ago that you could still find that in the wild, okay, in fairness to me. But, like, a copy of it came through, and I was working at the record store, and I was like, oh, I'll hold out for a better copy. And I didn't see another copy at all again for, like, 3 years or something like that. I'm pretty sure I don't remember where I got the copy I actually ended up buying. But, you know, and the one I have is probably in comparable condition, too, because it's just that kind of record, you know? So I kind of went, yeah, I fucked up on that front, because it took me forever to find another one. And that old fucking heavy vinyl doesn't make that much of a difference. If a record sounds like shit, it sucks, right? But it's better than not having the record, or having to, like, you know, listen to an MP3 or something. So, because records are still your friends, you know? And that actually is kind of a good segue into sort of the main topic here, because one thing I think a lot of, like, newer collectors don't necessarily understand is that when you have records, you don't necessarily like them all, you know? Like, I've totally, like, there are totally some people, and I don't begrudge anyone this, just like I don't begrudge anyone putting their fingers on the edge. That was actually kind of funny, because, like, that sort of became a little bit of a thing, and I don't mean to, like, lecture anybody, because I really don't care, you know what I mean? There was a time when I would have, you know what I mean? But, like, it's just not how I roll these days, you know? I can't be bothered getting into other people's business, and it's not my records, you know? And, you know, it's 80% habit anyway, right? It's just how have you been handling them all your life, you know? That's kind of as much a part of handling records as handling them properly, I think. And that's the other reason why I don't really like doing that, you know what I mean? Because if that's your relationship with records, you know what I mean? You pinch them by the edges, then that's your relationship with records, you know what I mean? And I'm, like, out of line fucking with that, you know? So, yeah, because, like, you know, I talk a lot about how records are my friends, you know what I mean? I kind of call them guys. Like, you know, if someone buys a record, I'm like, yeah, this guy will go out tomorrow, you know? I'm really inclined to sort of anthropomorphize these things. But that doesn't mean I like them all. And there are some of you that I really kind of hate. And so I try to pull out a few, but of course on command it's a little bit hard to think of. You know, so I'm actually going to digress for one more second, because this is a record, Harold Alexander. I actually love. But when I first got this record, I kind of hated it. And I came back to it a few times, and eventually it clicked for me. And I was like, holy shit, I love it. You know what I mean? And it was really more about sort of that 70s sound. And this kind of veers towards the smooth jazz area, which is why I didn't like it, you know? But that's 60% of that is just because soprano saxophone is the lead instrument, you know what I mean? Like, when you listen to it, after a couple listens, once I got used to it, sort of assimilated that sound, it's like funky and cool. It's just lower key than some of the other shit that I like, you know? So that's one reason to keep around records I don't like. But sometimes there are records that are just sort of insidious. And a lot of times the reasons I don't like them aren't necessarily all that rational. And I kind of end up with these things, it's just from me, right? But I kind of end up with these things because, like, I want to check them out for some reason or for another. And so I make a choice to overlook whatever it is. And then, like, it'll start to bother me after a while. You know what I mean? And there are always reasons for keeping these fucking things, right? So, like, here are a couple examples. Alright, so this one here, by the Uninvited. So it looks really cool. Like, at first blush, this is, like, totally the sort of thing that I would fucking love, you know? I mean, look at that. You know, there's actually a song on here called Metal Jesus. I wonder if Metal Jesus rocks. A little shout out to Metal Jesus there. But, like, there's, yeah, this album is dedicated in memory of Cliff Burton, which is pretty corny, really. That all the bands, like, that was, like, the thing to do, like Cliff Burton or Randy Rhoads. But, you know, at least, like, the intent is legitimately metal with that, you know what I mean? So I cut a little slack. And they look okay, you know what I mean? But there's a big fucking red flag here, and that's the right here. You know what I mean? Because it's a punk name. If If you're a metal band, you're just uninvited. The Uninvited is a punk band, right? And it's called System Wreck, which is kind of punk sounding too, you know? That could be a metal title, you know? It could be Spectral Incursion, but yeah, so, and I mean, this is the biggest thing that I overlooked when I got it, though, right there, metalcore, okay? So I think this is 88. Oh, they're from Louisville, Kentucky, by the way, too. This is totally like they're doing like a crossover thing, you know what I mean? There are too many songs on here for a metal record, you know? But more than that, it just sounds like it has some metal moves, and like these guys wouldn't be like shitting on metal if you talk with them, but it just kind of, you know, it just kind of goes in that crossover direction, which I don't dig so much, you know what I mean? And it kind of sucks. It pisses me off because like there are all these little subtle things that look good too, like that cheap font. Like that's what computer printouts looked like in 1988, you know, on your fucking dot matrix printer. Well, this doesn't look all like, you know, dot matrix out, but it looks, but there are little parts. Like if you look closely at the B and Burton and shit, see the squares in the middle. But I'm going too deep into this. The point is just this looks so right on so many levels, but it just kind of sucks, and I kind of resent it for that. Like I kind of hate it, you know. But every couple of years I pull it out because maybe it'll be like the Harold Alexander, and like someday I'll dig it. I bought this when I was living in LA, so close to 20 years ago. And I still think it's a turd. And here's another one that kind of sucks along the same lines. Okay, this Revenge record, Freedom of Choice, same kind of deal, like, except they look a little more punky with the whole freedom of choice thing being burned up. That's so, like, fucking corny-ass rebellion. And, like, if you look at them, they look pretty hapless. But, like, it has this. But, like, the hapless is good, though, right? And, like, it has this, which is kind of stupid, but kind of in the right way, too. But this record is just crap, though, man. They're from Florida. It's 87. You know, you really want it to be good, but it's just kind of all bad. You know what I mean? The songs kind of all suck, you know? So in a way, this one in my head is sort of connected to this one. But I think this one is making its way over to Harold Alexander territory, where I'll start to dig it. Because this record, I ended up getting because it's kind of obscure. It's on Dream Records out of France, which I was kind of collecting at the time, which is kind of dumb because the only really great Dream record is the ESP record, The Future Is Now. But for some reason, I was like wanting to hear the other ones too. So I kind of felt a little bit suckered by that. Plural title, by the way, Orphan Allies, plural. But this one, I can't articulate this one. There's just something about this. I could give you 5 reasons why this cover is great. And why, if you're going to have a band photo at all, this is awesome. Starting with this fucking giant right here, right? Like, this fucking guy who's like 7 feet tall. Like, what the hell, dude? You know? But there's something about this record that always just kind of felt wrong with me. I had like this sort of uneasy relationship with it, you know? So, Chromie D hyped this record a lot. You're all subscribed to Chromium Dioxide Radio, I'm taking for granted. Yeah, he hyped this, so I pulled it out again, and I'm starting to get it. You know what I mean? Like, I never disliked this record the way I do, like, that Revenge record. But I never did anything for me. I just thought it was completely, like, bland and mediocre, you know? I'm kind of starting to recognize the genius in it a little bit. But I'm not there yet. I'm working on it with this one. Yeah, and then, like, there's this is another example of a record I kind of hate. Okay, now this is actually a fantastic record, this Atheist record. It's the first one, Piece of Time. It's the only one I have by him, but I sent away for this, and, you know, it's funny, this is, like, totally counter to shit I talk about, too. But it came with that huge seam split on the top, because they shipped it with the record inside the cover. I'm sure it was perfect when it went out the door, but when it got to me, it was fucking ruined. And you know, I have a lot of records with seam splits, and most of the time I can deal with them okay, you know. I may not like it, I never like it, but most of the time it's no big deal, you know. It just kind of sucks a little bit, but for some reason, man, this one bothers me. And yeah, it's a really pronounced one, but I don't really know if it's any worse than some of the other ones. But this one, I can't pull this out and not think about that seam split and how it bothers me. And I've thought seriously about getting another copy of this because I've seen it at my local shop, like a newer pressing of it. And I've almost bought it like a few times because it wouldn't have that seam split. But the thing is, even if I did that, when I went for it, I'd still think of the fucking seam split. Maybe I'm like revealing a little bit too much here. You know what I mean, though? It's like I'd still think about how I had the copy that bothered me, and then I'd go there and I'd go, oh, I forgot I upgraded it. Well, that's cool, because that other one would have really bothered me. But it's still living in my fucking head, right? So, like, I kind of hate that record, too, you know? Lucky for me, it's a really good record, but it's not one of my favorite records. So it's not all that hard for me to just live without for extended periods of time. So yeah, what else? So we've got a couple other ones here, you know. Yeah, here's another one I kind of hate. Mostly because it's just like a pomp rock thing. And I kind of got suckered by the cover again, you know what I mean? Like it looks, I mean I bought this on the strength of the cover. I think I spent $20 on it. It's still about a $20 album last time I checked. So, you know, it's called Bad Dream and they're called Bluebeard. This could be a great record. Now, you know, I bought this. I had it in my hands. I hadn't heard it, but I knew what it looked like. And they warned me. Because there he is, man, with his fucking keyboards. And that's all you hear on this record, pretty much. On Parliament Records from '79. So, you know, it's not really the right time for it to be a great metal record either, let's be honest. But still, if this were as good, if this were half as good as Sinister Soldiers by Sorcery, a record which I think is overrated, by the way. Not the stunt rock guys, the other Sorcery from the time that did Sinister Soldiers. That record's pretty good. If this were, okay, 2/3 as good as that, half as good, it would be pretty crappy. If it were 2/3 as good as that, it'd be pretty decent. This record just sucks, man. It's a fucking piece of shit. And it doesn't even seem like AOR collectors give a shit. You know, I wouldn't even believe that AOR collectors existed if Jan Svanhill hadn't told me that, like, that was how he started dealing. Was he started dealing AOR. He got into metal and, like, the 70s stuff that I bought from him occasionally, he got into later. So... Alright, so what else do we got? Let's pull out a couple records that are good. Alright, we got a couple here to show. Yeah, speaking of records that like I was spending time with, try to get to know, or try and like get my head around a little better, it's the Bad Celtic Frost record, right? But here's the thing, this is actually a really good record, man. And if I'm honest, I've never hated this. Now, I wasn't hip to Celtic Frost back in the day, right? I kind of discovered him, you know, sometime in the 90s, I think, and really got into him, you know? So I didn't have that, like, this is the new album that they're foisting on me resentment that I might have had if I'd been into them in 86 or whatever. And they look fucking terrible. I mean, that picture is bad, right? This whole cover is bad, right? But this record is really pretty good. The fact is, this is like a rougher version of Shout at the Devil, I think. It's not, the songwriting is really pretty different from Shout at the Devil, you know what I mean? Like, those songs are a lot more sort of, you know, pompous and more sort of a party vibe, and these are a little bit more sort of, it's going for that, but it's still a little bit more sort of introverted and just a little bit more complexity there. But as far as the vibe goes, I think there's a lot in common between the two records. And I think the fact that Shout at the Devil is my favorite crew is probably why I like this one too. But yeah. God, it's weird to see fucking Tom G. Warrior with that fucking smile. Because he looks happy. And that's what's weird about it, because it seems like he'd be suffering, you know. But I don't know, man. Maybe he was really, like, really into this at the time. Probably more than he copped to in that book anyway, right? Anyway, yeah, it's kind of an embarrassing cover, but it's a really cool record, man. Don't let anyone... I mean, the important Celtic Frost records are, like, the first ones, right? But this is still really cool, man. If you have this, you're not a chump for having bought it. I'm going to show this for a Jürgen Allman to whom you're also subscribed, I hope. Jurgen with a J. Yeah, this is my copy of Poison Noise. And for some reason, this is a cool record. Here, look at that. Seam split at the top. I don't really care. You know, if it weren't there, I'd be happy about it, but I don't lose any sleep over that one, you know. Anyway, I mean, this record's probably about a 6 out of 10 to me. It's okay. It doesn't really command my attention. You know what I mean? It's really easy to sort of zone out. It's kind of interesting though, because this thing is 79 and it's hand numbered. You don't see that very often. You know, you see that a lot on like 90s onward releases, but anyway, it's still a really cool record, but it's kind of cooler for what it is than for what it sounds like, I think. You know? I mean, this thing is just so out of nowhere in 79, you know? And it has a really cool sort of, you know, new wave of British heavy metal vibe to it, so there's a lot to like here. Yeah, someone actually left me a comment not long ago, and I don't remember who it was, but they're talking about Cruies, so I pulled this one out too. So, I actually remember the joke I made last time. I said it sounded more like this guy than like this guy. I mean, I'll stand by it, you know what I mean? But this is a really cool record, man. And I'll tell you, it doesn't get worse every time I listen to it. It gets a little bit better, you know? It definitely has a little bit of sort of, you know, they're going for more like Shout at the Devil than like To Megatherion, you know what I mean? But it's a really cool record along those lines, man. And I'm not as sympathetic to glam metal as some of the metal channels are. It's actually amazing to me, you know, like back in the day, like there were the guys who liked like the heavy shit, like what I liked, and there were the guys who liked the glam shit. And for the most part, it was two different camps, you know what I mean? But like everyone now seems to like have liked that shit back going back forever. I don't know, I came around on some of it. Hell, I came around on a lot of it, really. But like, some bands I just can't do, like fucking Greeno and George on the Man Cave of Doom, and I really hope you're fucking subscribed to the Man Cave of Doom. Man Cave is one word. But yeah, they were talking about like Poison records, and I was just like, I could never hang with that shit, man. Even now, where like, I kind of appreciate what they were doing in a way because it's just so fucking ridiculous, and I kind of love C.C. DeVille, but I still hate those fucking records, man. God damn. That shit's so bad. Yeah, here's another cool one I played on. This is Doc. Renee from Holspa Metal actually turned me on, and based on how many subs he has, I know for a fact he subscribed to him. But just in case, Holspa Metal. Yeah, this is, they're from Argentina, I'm pretty sure. South America, definitely. Actually, it's Argentina. But the label is in Brazil, which seems weird to me. This is a really cool, just like sort of solid heavy metal record. It's a little bit anachronistic in 92 or whenever I think this originally came out. But it's really good, man. If you can get a chance to check this out without going broke, which I think you ought to be able to. It's a good record, man. Alright, and then I got one more here I'm going to hype, and I think I'm going to hang it up. This is actually completely off topic, because this is more like a groovy one, right? But this is a band that was actually on Grown Man Record Night last week. You subscribe to Grown Man Record Night? Because I hope so. Yeah, Hot Mustard. These guys are actually local. These guys are from Johns Island, which, if you know the layout of Charleston, South Carolina, it's right here. And yeah, man, it's just a groovy record. I was expecting this to be more of like a sort of a hot funk record than it turned out to be. It's a lot more sort of low key, but it's still really funky, you know what I mean? It's like there's a lot of brass, but the brass isn't in your face the way I expected it to be, you know what I mean? It's more sort of eases in, then you're like, oh wow, there's a lot of brass going on in there. You know what I'm saying? As opposed to going pa, 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 you know? So, fantastic record, man. I really like it a lot. And I heard about this because of Bananas, so I have 4,000 or 5,000 records in here, and I learned something new from Grown Man Record Nights. That's something else that you should take under advisement when you're thinking about where to subscribe. Anyway, very cool record. You can get it from the band, I'm pretty sure, on their Bandcamp, because they're like current. And this record just came out like a week ago. Because, you know, you come to the Metal Theologian channel for relevance, right? Fucking, you got the fucking brand new release. You got the fucking Fantano t-shirt. You got the fucking yuppie ass soda. You got nothing but relevance going on over here. That didn't make any fucking sense at all. But I appreciate you watching, and hope you got a couple chuckles. See you next time.